Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm happy to be with you today. I'm here continuing the story of Joseph, and we've talked about a few things already, how he was thrown in the cistern and then sold as a slave, and finally winds up in Potiphar's house, doing a really good job. But unfortunately, his life takes another change for the worse. Let's look in chapter 39 and verse 20. Well, we'll start at 19. Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about how Joseph had treated her. Now, you can read about that in the few verses before this, but basically what it comes down to is his wife tried to seduce Joseph, and Joseph wouldn't respond, so she accused him of trying to attack her. False accusations, but nevertheless, very real consequences. It says, so Potiphar was furious. Verse 20, he took Joseph and threw him into prison, where the king's prisoners were held. And there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love. And the Lord made Joseph a favorite among the prison wardens. Before long, the wardens put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners and over everything that happened in the prisons. The warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. Well, we talked about how Joseph probably had changed when the first go round of this event with Potiphar. But now we see that situation just in a matter of moments totally changed. And Joseph has the opportunity to respond as a changed Joseph, or to respond as the same old selfish person that he was in the past. Now, a couple of things here are important to see. First off, Potiphar was furious about Joseph, about how he had treated her. Now, Joseph did not mistreat her. That's the important thing. Joseph didn't do anything. He stood his ground, did the right thing, and all heck broke loose. And he wound up in prison. Now, that's a good gauge for you and me. You know, in life, lots of things happened, and lots of things we didn't have anything to do with happen. And they happen suddenly, and they change the course of our entire life. What's important in those moments is how we respond. See, I can't change what happens to me. I can't control that. I have no idea what's going to happen next. Now, I feel pretty safe here in my office. I mean, it's not like somebody's going to run a car up through the driveway and clobber me in my office. That's not going to happen. Sorry about that. Something got in my eye. But I don't know what'll happen when I leave. And neither do you. So we can only control what we can control. And that's our response to it. Joseph has the opportunity to return to that selfish kid he once was. But he doesn't do that. What does it say here? But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed his faithful love. God was still in charge, even though Joseph was now in a horrible prison, in a terrible place. And if you find your life interrupted by something you didn't anticipate, and you find yourself in a very horrible place, uncomfortable, terrible, you're really concerned, you don't know what to do, It's all right because God is still in charge. What he wants from you and from me during those instances is to maintain our trust in him, maintain our relationship with him. Now, if you don't have one to start with, you're not going to get one in these kinds of settings. A lot of people seem to think that bad things can help us find God. Well, maybe they can, but most often they don't. Most often, people who found God ahead of time find those horrible things to be something that strengthens their walk with him. And I don't know where you are in that walk. That's up to you to decide. You know. I don't know. I don't have to know. But life is more than what we experience at the moment. Life is portrayed by how we react to whatever happens around us. So it goes on to say that the warden trusted him so much, put him in charge of everything. Never heard of that. I mean, I've heard of, what do they call them? Friendly trustees or something like that. The people, prisoners who are allowed to do extra things and go outside and do things. Um, and maybe they had those in Potiphar's day, in Joseph's day. I don't know. But what is so critical is that several times in this thing, it says the same basic wording. The Lord was with him or with Joseph. The Lord showed his favorite goodness towards Joseph. You see, Joseph is learning something in the midst of this tragedy. He's learning how to trust God. And you and I could use the same lesson in our lives. Hopefully, we don't have to get thrown in prison to figure it out. But some people get imprisoned in their mind with their addictions or anger or resentment, or with their success, that they think they can do anything because, after all, look how good I am. Some people think that they can earn God's favor by tithing to the last penny. But all of that stuff doesn't matter, really. What matters is, what do you do with your life and God's hand that sits there saying, come on, let's go through this life together. I hope you find that hand. And I hope, more importantly, you take that hand. And if you've already taken it and things start to get really bad, remember, he still has your hand. And he's going to hang on to it to the very end. Well, thanks so much for listening. Hope you have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow, share another thought or two about this fellow. Some good stuff we can learn from here. And I hope that if you have a need or a concern, you'll let us know. And we'll do whatever we can as fast as we can to help meet those needs. Thank you so much for listening, for sharing your time. God bless you. I'll be back tomorrow and share another thought.